The Cold War was rarely fought on open battlefields. It was waged globally through the clandestine theft of highly classified information. Analyzing the history of this shadow conflict raises a structural debate. Between the Soviet KGB and the American CIA, which intelligence architecture was actually more successful? The KGB operated with a severe historical advantage. Tracing its roots to the early 20th century, Soviet intelligence had decades to master HUMINT. HUMINT, or human intelligence, is the gathering of information through human sources and direct interpersonal espionage. This visualization illustrates the contrasting posture of the United States and its allies. Operating defensively and constrained by internal legal frameworks, the West relied heavily on SIGINT. Signals intelligence is the extraction of data by intercepting electronic and physical communications. By examining declassified archives, we can trace exactly how the KGB bypassed Western security through deep human penetration, and how the West responded by building massive technological intercept systems. Comparing these two approaches reveals that Western technical sabotage was meticulously engineered specifically to counteract the devastating reach of Soviet human assets. The true scale of Soviet HUMINT operations remained obscured until a critical intelligence breach in 1992. Vasily Mitrokhin, a senior KGB archivist, defected to the United Kingdom. He brought with him 6 trunks containing 25,000 pages of highly classified internal notes. Mitrokhin had methodically copied these files by hand between 1972 and 1984, taking advantage of his position during the relocation of the KGB Foreign Intelligence Archive. The records exposed a staggering reality. The KGB had successfully infiltrated almost all United States defense contractor facilities, as well as the highest levels of multiple European governments. The foundation for this success was laid decades earlier with the Cambridge Five, a notorious spy ring operating inside Britain beginning in 1934. Soviet intelligence handler Arnold Deutsch focused his recruitment efforts on the British elite, starting with Kim Philby. Philby's recruitment initiated a domino effect. He facilitated the recruitment of Donald MacLean, which led to Guy Burgess, eventually forming a 5-man network. These men were selected for their strict ideological devotion to communism and their privileged social standing, which positioned them perfectly to acquire high-level government roles. Their socioeconomic status functioned like a biological cloak, allowing them to bypass the British government's security immune system, because elite, highly educated citizens were rarely suspected of treason. Operating from the inside, these ideological spies leaked thousands of documents and compromised critical operations like Venona. Venona was a highly classified joint American and British program designed to decrypt Soviet diplomatic communications. Their actions proved that early KGB human assets could neutralize Western intelligence at its source. As the Cold War extended into the 1980s, the primary motivation for high-level espionage shifted away from ideological devotion and toward direct financial compensation. On April 16, 1985, Aldrich Ames, a 31-year veteran of the CIA's Counterintelligence Division, voluntarily walked into the Soviet embassy in Washington to offer his services. Ames received over $2 million. In exchange, he handed over the identities of virtually every CIA and FBI source operating against the Soviet Union. The intelligence he provided resulted in the immediate arrest and execution of at least 10 United States assets by the KGB. In the exact same year, 1985, a senior FBI counterintelligence agent named Robert Hanssen also volunteered to spy for Moscow. Because Hanssen understood American investigative methods, his tradecraft was meticulous. He communicated strictly through encrypted texts and refused to ever meet his Russian handlers in person. This map illustrates Hanssen's preferred method, the dead drop. A dead drop is a prearranged secret location used to exchange items or information asynchronously, ensuring the spy and the handler are never seen together. Utilizing locations like the Ellis Drop site in Foxstone Park, Hanssen passed thousands of classified pages to the KGB, earning $1.4 million in cash and diamonds over 15 years. Financial espionage was not limited to enemy states. During this same era, civilian intelligence analyst Jonathan Pollard stole highly classified aerospace and signals intelligence to sell to Israel, a United States ally. These cases highlight a structural vulnerability. If adversaries can purchase access from individuals with the highest security clearances, human fallibility remains an unpatchable flaw in any intelligence network. Unable to match the sheer volume of Soviet human recruitment, the CIA and British MI6 allocated massive capital toward engineering and technology to acquire Soviet data. The most prominent example of this technological counteroffensive was Operation Regal, widely known as the Berlin Tunnel. This diagram shows the geographic constraint facing intelligence officers in post-war Berlin. The city's telephone and telegraph system functioned like a wheel, channeling communications from both east and west through central switching stations. Attempting to intercept these signals remotely was restricted by physics. High-frequency radio waves travel in straight lines and do not bend around the curvature of the Earth, meaning Western analysts could not listen in from afar. However, the CIA identified a hardware flaw. The Soviet military used a cipher machine called SIGINT. Bell system technicians discovered that as the SIGINT electrically encrypted a message, a faint echo of the plain text was simultaneously transmitted along the physical wire. To capture that physical echo, American and British engineers executed a highly complex excavation, burrowing a 1,476-foot tunnel, starting in the American sector and ending directly beneath the heavily guarded East German border to tap the cables. The logistics required removing 3,000 tons of dirt in total secrecy. To hide the excavated soil, they constructed a specialized two-story warehouse over the tunnel's origin point. The tunnel remained operational from May 1955 until April 1956, processing a massive volume of telegraphic intercepts and yielding highly detailed accounts of Soviet military intentions. Operation Regal demonstrates the Western strategic doctrine, relying on industrial-scale, civil engineering, and physics to extract raw data without requiring a single human recruit inside the Soviet command. Interception was only the first phase. Eventually, Western intelligence evolved from passively reading signals to deploying active technological sabotage. In July 1981, French President François Mitterrand held a private meeting with United States President Ronald Reagan to hand over intelligence known as the Farewell Dossier. The dossier contained documents provided by a KGB defector. They proved that a specialized Soviet unit called Line X was systematically stealing American research in microelectronics, computers, and aerospace to modernize the Soviet military. This illustrates the counterintelligence strategy. Instead of arresting Line X operatives, American intelligence allowed the KGB to successfully acquire targeted technology, but only after it was modified with hidden, defective flaws. The Soviets routed these contrived computer chips into their own military equipment. They installed deliberately flawed turbines onto a major gas pipeline, resulting in severe mechanical disruptions to their chemical output. The deception extended to the highest levels of Soviet aerospace engineering. The design for the Soviet space shuttle was actually based on a set of plans that NASA had previously rejected. By feeding corrupted data back through the KGB's own acquisition networks, the West successfully weaponized the Soviets' greatest strength, turning their human espionage apparatus into a delivery mechanism for infrastructural sabotage. Evaluating Cold War intelligence requires understanding the underlying architectures. The KGB's centralized authority allowed human infiltration, like Ames, Hanssen, and the Cambridge Five, compromising Western planning. Conversely, Western agencies invested in technology, prioritizing physical intercepts like Operation Regal and sabotage like the Farewell Dossier. Both architectures secured vital intelligence, and both suffered critical, high-profile failures. The historical record shows that while human operatives can bypass the most stringent security protocols to deliver targeted secrets, developing systemic technological superiority remains the most reliable mechanism for long-term defensive intelligence.